All right, everyone. There it is. Ring that dang bell right there, man. Okay, there you go. 4 o'clock. Markets closed. Broad and Wall Street, New York City. West Palm Beach, we're open for business. Check this out. We made this graphic for you a couple of minutes ago, and the market obviously has changed a little bit in the last few minutes. Let's roll that graphic that you, Mad Dog, and Ben put together. This thing's phenomenal because I woke up this morning and that top row there, so it's this morning, the market opened. This morning, gold was down $3 an ounce. Oil was ripping higher, $3 a barrel higher, because everyone's worried about what was going on in the Middle East. Bitcoin was getting slammed. Overnight, Bitcoin got down to 97,000 and change. It was down $4,000 per Bitcoin. Dow Jones was down 200 points. NASDAQ was down 150 points. That was this morning. Somewhere around 2 o'clock today, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock today, everything flipped. And I'm not making this stuff up, folks. Gold, at about half an hour ago, was up, and now it's up even more, $10 an ounce. Oil down $5.50. So look at that. It went from up $3 a barrel because people were worried about the Middle East. We were worried about Iran. They produce a lot of oil. Is Russia going to get involved? Or Russia produces a lot of oil. I was on chats this morning. People were talking $150 a barrel oil. It was up to 70 and change dollars a barrel. Now, $66, down $5 a barrel. Down $5 a barrel. No one saw this. I had people calling me, are we going to pay $8 for gas now? The fear-mongering on the left was insane. They were going absolutely crazy. Give me the other graphic again. We're still on the other graphic. And then look at the change in direction of the stock markets. It was down 200 this morning, the Dow Jones, up 300, almost 400 points now as we speak. The Dow is up 375. So it went from down 200 to up 300 points in a matter of a couple hours. NASDAQ was down 150 points, up close to 183 points right now. So everything that people were expecting early in the morning flipped. And it went from very, very serious concern about the future of our markets and our equities and our economy to a lot of confidence, folks, because everything you see there, gold up is good, oil down is good, Bitcoin up is good, Dow Jones up is good, NASDAQ up is good. Things got better on Wall Street. All right, folks, our first guest is the director of the Center for American Security at America First Policy Institute, known affectionately as AFPI, Dr. Jacob Olidor. Jacob, really good to have you, my friend. So can you just bring us up to speed on this latest? We just heard, I believe, 10 rockets left Iran into our military base, the U.S. military base at Qatar, and also one into Iraq. I've also heard, and this is very, very relevant, that we were given advanced notice that these rockets were going to be fired. And for me, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be the Iranians saying, we need to save face here a little bit without starting World War III by going too far. What are your thoughts of this latest strike and where we go from here?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's great to be with you, Eric. That's exactly what it is. I've been saying over the last few days that Iran needs some kind of response to save face. They don't have many options. There's another important data point that I noticed over the weekend, that Iran has pulled back some of its commanders out of Iraq. Some of its militia commanders. So it's that's important, and this is consistent, by the way, with what Iran did after we took out Soleimani back in 2020. They needed some kind of a response, and so they fired those missiles out to an empty part of our base out in Iraq. And so we can anticipate more of this. Iran would be wise not to escalate into any major strike, probably some cyber attacks as well. But I think anything above that threshold will be a direct attack on the United States and would be met with a swift and decisive response by the president.
So I'd like to note also that you're a former Middle East advisor to the Department of Defense. And the reason why that's very relevant is over the weekend we saw Secretary Hegseth, he was a colleague of mine, Secretary Hegseth, say that we, quote, obliterated the Iranians' ability to develop a nuclear weapon. Therefore, the question remains, should Israel continue to bomb Iran? Because Israel is saying they're going to continue, and they have, in fact, continued bombing Iran. So if we've obliterated the threat, should they continue?
Well, it's a great question, actually. And so much of this actually goes back to how much we actually know about Iran. They've for many years been lying, been deceiving the international community. And Israel, of course, is discovering new sites, new aspects of its nuclear program. It is the deepest it's been ever in Iranian territory. So I think a lot of this is learning as we're going along about what exactly Iran has been up to all this time, how it's pivoting currently. So this is a very fast-moving target.
Well, let me frame the question another way. Should
Sure.
should the Israelis cease at our request since we quote unquote obliterated the threat?
Oh. No, I think hardly. Well, first of all, look, Israel has never in its history and in its doctrines asked anybody to fight its wars for it. And Netanyahu has been clear that he does not have a time frame on when the objective is met. But this is consistent with Israel's military operation, its fight for its survival over the last 2 years. The president has been consistent and his team throughout that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. We have entered into that amid Israel's military efforts that it alone is doing. So I think Israel is entitled to obviously act in self-defense, as we've said. Our objective here has only been taking out these sites, and as the president has said, continuing to insist that Iran come to the negotiating table and completely stop its nuclear program diplomatically. But if it becomes obstinate, if it refuses to do that through military options, of course, as the president has said, more will be forthcoming.
Well, okay, yes, and he has. And there is some sort of disconnect, let's call it that. And again, I think it was a surgical strike. Apparently, it accomplished everything they were looking for. But here's the question. Since the strike, we've had both sides. We have heard Hegseth and Vice President Vance say that this is not about regime change. And then President Trump kind of insinuated potentially regime change if they don't come to the bargaining table. What's your read on what's going on inside the Department of Defense and the White House right now?
Well, this is probably the most unified administration I've seen in my lifetime, and certainly has been remarkable to observe the last 4 or 5 months in action. And the president, of course, is a master with rhetoric, statecraft, and the art of the deal. You just have to read his book to see. But I think the famous words apply. Take him seriously, but not literally. But if I was the Iranians, I'd probably be doing both right now. And so, I think the basic message is it's over to you. Khamenei and your team, whoever you have left there, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. And we prefer the easy way, but you now know a taste of what the hard way looks like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Before I get into the next area, is there really ever going to be any peace in the Middle East with the fanatical clerics running the country of Iran? And what's it going to take to change that? I mean, there's not going to be let's call him a soft cleric or soft mullah or a less aggressive mullah. This is what they want. They believe in Sharia law above everything else. And if you don't believe in Sharia law, you're an infidel. And by definition, with what their religious beliefs are, if you're an infidel, you will be put to death. So without a real government there, without an elected government there, can we ever take our eye off Iran?
It's a great question. And, a lot of it depends on how Iran's leadership right now reacts. But, I think, the same could be said also. The region is a place of a lot of change and hope. And we've seen many governments change their policies, their attitudes. The Abraham Accords is a great example of that. And so I personally think that, destructive ideology can be disproven very easily. We're seeing that with the Iranian regime's ideology coming apart since October 7th, ironically for them. And, if they want to continue this path, there's only one direction that it goes.
Yeah, that direction would be annihilation or regime change. I guess that's where we are talking regime change at some point. Guys, call up the Truth Social that Trump put up a couple hours ago, and this is kind of interesting. Again, a lot of Americans are aware, especially MAGA. I mean, let's be honest. So MAGA kind of has always believed that Trump was not going to be involved in foreign wars. This is a bit of a certain faction of MAGA believes that this is a tough pill to swallow, that we're actually bombing another country. Especially because could it lead to World War III? Trump says, did I hear former President Medvedev, who was the former president of Russia, casually throwing around the N-word, and he says nuclear, and saying that he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran? Did he really say that, or is this just a figment of my imagination? This is Trump talking here, guys. If he did say that, and if it's confirmed, please let me know immediately. The N-word should not be treated casually. The question is, and Putin himself has said, it's possible that what the United States, our aggression, may have opened the door to supplying weapons, whether it's the Russian weapons or Chinese weapons, to Iran, meaning nuclear weapons. Your thoughts on any of if this is just saber rattling, saving face, or what, is any of this real?
That is a very foolish statement, and I think from the Russian leadership, I think President Trump calls him out exactly on that. I mean, look, Putin and his regime know very well that this is, the next domino to fall is his own. The Russians rely on Iran for their missiles and drones to keep up their atrocities in Ukraine, and so I think there's going to be a lot of bravado out there from Russia, but the reality on the ground is that they can't do a whole lot, and anything they do try along those lines would be a major escalation and a new war that they open up. So I don't think they're looking for that right now.
Now, the subject I want, and I don't have a ton of time, I want to stay on this for a couple of minutes because it's near and dear to my heart. I've been around long enough to recall the last time the Iranians tried to close the Strait of Hormuz, which they're claiming they're going to do now or threatening to do right now. The last time they actually had they planted bombs within the strait, aquatic bombs. So if there are any ships that hit one of these, they explode. Mines. They're saying they may do it again. Is this cause for blowing Iranian ships out of the Strait of Hormuz? I will tell you, this is a very, very important strait. But let me just tell you this while we speak. As we speak right now, crude oil is down $4 a barrel. Down $4 a barrel. Down. Most people thought it'd be up $10 a barrel by now, but it's down $4. No one's believing that the strait will get closed. What do you think?
Right. No, I think, and I could be wrong, but I've said all along that would be obviously the main scenario people are concerned about. It would be not only economic suicide to Iran, but it would directly harm its main economic patron, the Chinese, the number one importer of Iranian oil. That being said, also, I don't know what's left of the Iranian Navy, that Israel has taken out many of their ships. But so I think I'm not too concerned that that'll be the case. But again, I could be wrong there.
I'm going to leave you with one. On the AFPI website, you quote Theodore Roosevelt, I believe. It says, "Peace is only at its highest good if it comes as the handmaiden to righteousness." Was our strike on these 3 nuclear facilities within Iran, was it righteous?
It was not only righteous, I think it demonstrates President Trump's leadership as a peacemaker. This is an end, or certainly the very first step to an end of the longest forever war in the region, waged by the Iranian regime in February of 1979. And I think what we'll quickly see is the Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese running to the table, trying to find a way to get the United States on their side, which obviously won't be easy, but they want peace. They want to end their involvements. And I think getting at this specific threat in the way that we did was exactly the right step to take for making peace possible.
Will we see peace? Will we see peace in the region?
Very soon. And we've already seen it under the first Trump administration with the Abraham Accords. Mm-hmm. I think, nobody in the region obviously is more concerned about Iranian nuclear capability than our partners there. And I think they're looking at Israel's actions. They're looking at what the United States did with a lot of hope, a lot of confidence and excitement for a new chapter of peace.
Great. Very optimistic, Jacob. Thank you so much. Dr. Olidor, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We'll get you back again as this progresses, because every day is a new story, a new news cycle, so to speak. Dr. Jacob Olidor, thank you.
Honored to be with you. Thank you.
We will be back in 2.5 minutes. All right, folks, my next guest is a historian and author of American Infantada, Israel, the Gaza War, and the New Anti-Semitism. Yuri Kaufman joins us to discuss the Iran-Israel conflict. We brought Yuri back because since we last spoke to Yuri, a lot of things have changed. Bombs were dropped on Iran from the United States. Israel continues. So I'll pose the same question to you, Yuri, that I posed to Dr. Jacob Olidor. Should Israel continue to bomb Iran, considering what Pete Hegseth said over the weekend, and Trump said that we've obliterated the Iranian nuclear capabilities going forward? Should we continue? Should they continue? And should we, for that matter?
The answer is yes on both, for a simple reason. The Israelis said there were not There wasn't one objective. There were two objectives. One objective was the nuclear program. And it really does look like finally this 25-year scourge is behind us. But from Israel's perspective, there was one other big threat they had to take care of, and that is the ballistic missiles. They've got to get rid of that as well. And we should want that too. Those ballistic missiles threaten the entire region. Let me give you an idea of what Iran was planning. They had a bunch of factories about to come online that would have allowed them to make 300 a month. 300 missiles a month. You're talking that's over 3,000 a year. 10 years go by, you got 36,000 of them. One missile slipped through an Israeli city called Bat Yam. It took out just one missile. It carries a ton of high explosives. It's like a flying school bus. It took out between 10 and 20 buildings, apartment buildings. They will have to be completely demolished. 40 others are going to have to be repaired. That's, again, one missile out of 520 that they fired so far. So with those kinds of missiles, with that capability, they don't need a nuke. They can wipe out the world just with that. That capability has got to be destroyed.
Okay, here's my question. Should the United States now step back and let Israel finish the job? And the reason why I'm asking this is because we had reports a couple hours ago that missiles were flying from Iran to the U.S. base in Qatar. But we've also heard that the United States, and we're showing video of this, the United States was pre-warned that these missiles were coming, and they're aimed at a desolate part of that base, meaning it looks like the Iranians were looking to save face with their own people, yet telling the United States, we don't want any war. So given those circumstances, what's the play for both Israel and the United States?
Okay, so with respect to the United States, is playing out exactly as analysts expected and exactly as you might recall, mentioned to you when we spoke last week. This is what the Iranians did after Qasem Soleimani was killed by President Trump. They fired a couple of missiles at an American base. They did cause a few traumatic brain injuries. That's a bad thing, but certainly far less than anyone expected, and that was the end of it. They're doing the same thing now, and of course, they're going to ballyhoo it and say, oh, we fired hundreds of, I think the Supreme Leader said, we fired as many rockets as them as they fired at us. And, they're going to claim they killed hundreds of Americans. It's all nonsense, and everybody in the region will know it, but at least it allowed them to save face. And that is going to be the end of it. The problem is that if you are Israel, it ain't over yet. They're going to keep shooting rockets at Israel and Israeli cities. They're causing a lot of damage. Look, one of them was aimed at a hospital. If the hospital hadn't been evacuated the day before, hundreds of sick people would have been murdered in their beds. I mean, think about that, aiming at a hospital. I mean, who does that, for crying out loud? That's what we're dealing with here. That capability has just got to be taken away, or this isn't over yet.
And I'm only doing this because there's a good portion of MAGA, I'll be honest, me included, who really wanted Trump to not get involved in foreign wars. It's just something that foreign war, I just don't understand the need to spend our treasure and our lives protecting countries and people that may not even respect us. And okay, so Trump has said from the very beginning, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And according to their own reports, that is now the case. So isn't it time for the United States to step back and say, Israel, you want to do it? God bless you. You're a neighbor. You're within ballistic missiles. You're within missile strikes of Iran. You do it. We're out of this game. We'll support you any way we should. Doesn't that sound fair to you?
Well, the catch is that in a couple of years, we're going to be right back in the soup. You might remember that in 2019, the Iranians fired a lot of missiles into Saudi oil fields. We're going to feel that. They could fire them into anybody else's oil fields. We're going to feel that as well. And I just want to make a very important point here. This is what the president really said. We're done with the forever wars. We're done with the Iraq wars, where we are engaging in nation building, where we're trying to create democracies in places where they just don't want it. This is a very, very, very different situation. In a situation like this, you've got two very, very narrow interests. Take away the nuclear capability, take away the missile capability. Okay, if you do that, you can do that just from the air. You don't need boots on the ground. That's the difference. What we're doing here is not regime change. What we are doing here is not occupation. What we are doing here is not even deterrence. It's very similar to the air war in Serbia in the 1990s. And at the time, you might remember General Wesley Clark coined a term compellence from the word compel. So he's merging compellence and deterrence. We are bombing to compel the enemy to change their behavior. We did it. We did it successfully back in the 1990s. We didn't take any casualties. It only went on for about 3 months. and we compelled the Serbians to stop committing atrocities. We can do the same thing now. We can compel the Iranians, and it's not going to take 3 months to stop building these missiles that are going to terrorize the region and the entire oil industry.
I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to support Israel because I believe in that, and I just hoping that we don't actually press any more. Send any more of our pilots. Eric Kaufman, had a great discussion with you once before. This time again, we'll bring you back again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Guys, we'll be back 2.5 minutes. All right, we're lucky to have this guy. Love having him back. We have Chief White House Correspondent Brian Glenn. Get us up to speed on tell us, you're standing in front of the house right there, the White House. So how's it feeling there? Is there euphoria? Give us a sense of the feeling.
Well, it's the first time I've seen the 2 big, beautiful flagpoles up with the flags on them. I was out Thursday and Friday, so I missed the flag raising ceremony for that. But it's a great, beautiful day here. I was just reading on Truth Social, President Trump pushing out a message just a few minutes ago, talking about how grateful he is for the people of Qatar and how thankful he is that with no injuries and no damage to either Americans or people in that nation on the ground, which is wonderful. So it's good news that I called it kabuki theater. A lot of times Iran likes to kind of show off a little bit of whatever muscle they have military-wise. I was also told that perhaps their guided missile systems are out, so they were just chunking tomahawks to see if they could hit something. They didn't hit anything. They hit them all. U.S. struck them all down. One went untouched because it landed in the middle of nowhere. But I think this is what we can expect to see over the next coming days, hopefully in sooner than later.
Maybe the big concern, at least for me, we hear that Iran told the White House they're sending the missiles, shot them into an area of the Qatar base, our U.S. base in Qatar, shot them in the area that's uninhabited, so to speak. So it seems like they're saving face. My concern is Russia sparking up the dialogue, the rhetoric of potential world war. They keep opening this World War III and giving nukes to Iran. What are they thinking? What are you guys hearing around there?
Yeah, well, President Trump was real forward saying, well, Putin is in charge here, not the former president who put out that message about using the N-word on that. He said, no, Putin is in charge, and they have not had that dialogue. And I will say this, a little bit of kickback that you're getting from the base, and I was explaining this to someone earlier, we've had decades, Eric, of loser presidents. I'm talking from Republican to Democrat, getting involved in some of these foreign wars, these escalations that have drug us into these decade-long conflicts. And I think what we need to understand here is President Trump is very forward and have said, Eric, this is not what we're doing. We were very strategic with the nuclear facility. We took that out. We didn't even injure, if I'm not mistaken, or even kill any Iranians with that strike at that nuclear facility. So what's different between a Trump foreign policy and all the other crappy presidents that have occupied the White House behind me is they have never had a plan other than getting us into a foreign war. This is something President Trump does not want to do. I know the MAGA base, portion of it, is very upset about that. They feel like we are, but we just have to trust Trump and that he has not steered us wrong up until this point. And so let's just see what happens. But I think that's a very interesting conversation that we're having amongst the base. And I think it's healthy to have that conversation. But Trump is very different than the crappy loser presidents we've had before.
No doubt, Brian. Really good having you. We had to truncate this interview a little bit because we got just a jam-packed show. Appreciate your time, Brian.
Not a problem. We'll see you.
All right, folks. I'm convinced there isn't a single mental virus on this planet more powerful than Trump derangement syndrome. A virus so powerful, it makes you worship illegal invaders by these leftist idiots who have Trump derangement syndrome and support these people over your fellow citizens. A virus so powerful, it makes you love a violent regime that wants America destroyed. Well, we're there, folks.
No more U.S. attacks!
No more U.S. attacks!
Iran, we got your back!
Well, the enemy is here. Imagine living through the year 1979 and the years that followed the 1979 hostage crisis when 66 Americans were held for 444 days. Bombings of Americans, both soldiers and civilians, killed over 4 decades. Imagine witnessing Iran's history of targeting Americans for decades and then fast forward to today as you watch Americans actually supporting that terrorist Iranian regime intent on destroying this country. But that doesn't matter to them because, Trump. How can the so-called Party of Women's Rights, of Human Rights, actually support a regime that does this to its people?
And I'm still not mad at Israel, because Islamic Republic did this to us. Please understand this. When you're taking side of them, you're taking the side of Iranians' murderers. They're stealing the monies of people from the banks. And people are struggling to find food.
Well, if the commies on the left won't believe it straight from an Iranian woman's mouth, will they at least believe it when Van Jones says it on CNN?
The two things are clear. The what, they cannot have a bomb, and the why, because they say death to America, death to Israel, and death to all the Jews. One of those should offend you if you're progressives. At least one should offend you.
Can you imagine having to say it like that? It's not enough to leftists that Iran wants all Jews and Americans dead. What does it take to convince a leftist so clouded by their Trump derangement syndrome that Iran cannot have nukes? Why shouldn't Iran have nukes? Well, let's see. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, a genocidal death cult that murders its own citizens in the name of Allah and Muhammad should not have access to nuclear weapons. Or how about this? Maybe if this is what they do to Iranian women that we just saw, imagine what they would do to a Western infidel like you, or a woman like you, or I don't know, maybe an American gay. I don't know. Oh, and how about this? It's the law. That's right. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, signed in 1970 and extended in 1995, which Iran signed, means that they agreed not to possess or acquire nuclear weapons. But that doesn't stop liberals from crying in the streets for them, for the Iranians, or the useless United Nations from supporting them. Or how about this? Not a single person died in the strategic bombing of Iran. But it's quite another story in Syria. Suicide bomber blew himself up inside a church in Damascus, on Sunday. At least 25 dead, dozens injured. Where were the marches for them? Where were the protests over the fact that Christians are under attack in a Middle Eastern country, and yet marches to protest the strategic, precise bombing of Iran's illegal nuclear facilities? No boots on the ground. After decades of presidents insisting that Iran cannot have a nuclear capability and then doing nothing about it, let's talk about Obama, let's talk about even Bush and others, Clinton. Obama and Biden practically placed the nuclear bomb into the Ayatollah's hands. Finally, something's done about it, and the outrage spills out into American streets over that, but not about dead Christian children at all. They don't care about that. They don't seem to worry about that. Not about women being maimed, raped, or killed over not covering their hair. Is it mostly peaceful to kill people for being gay, or killing women for being raped? Or is that not enough to fight against for them? What exactly does this party stand for? So, Democrat Party, let's see, won't defend our borders, won't protect our cities from crime, and now they oppose efforts to deny nuclear weapons to a murderous death cult. Over 40 years of history clearly isn't enough to teach the left about the Iranian regime. And clearly, watching London turn into Londonistan isn't enough to stop the city of New York from following in the same path. Yep, that's London now, right there, thanks to current leadership. And right now, a Marxist Islamic radical is even closer to becoming mayor of one of the major cities in the United States. He's actually overtaken Andrew Cuomo in the primary there, due to be decided tomorrow. We already have America-hating progressive leftists in Congress, and now we have a Muslim-backed Iranian proxy set to take over New York City. How can that city survive? They suffered the 9/11 terrorist attacks just two decades ago. How could they actually elect someone like that, Mamdani, to power? Frightening. And yet, there's only one thought more frightening than the reality we're living in right now, in which Americans pledge allegiance to a terrorist regime, and that's this one. Imagine if it had been Kamala Harris as president right now, or God forbid, Joe Biden as Harris right now. Frightening reality thoughts, right, folks? Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, standing there at the precipice, making a decision that could change the course of history, sends shivers down our spines. It should be. And here's where I land on this. This is what I can say for sure. It's the best interest, it's in the best interest of the entire human race for the crazed theocracy in Iran to not possess nuclear weapons. Full stop. And I believe that was the sole mission objective of Donald Trump. America is, rightfully so, suffering a sort of nation-building PTSD after more than 20 years of useless, endless ground wars. Am I right, George Bush? America first is where we need to be. President Trump believes in that vision and promised that, and I still believe him after these strikes. So thank you, President Trump, for protecting the human race with the least amount of force needed, and thank you to the incredible United States Air Force for your precision and professional excellence. The rest is now up to the people of Iran. We'll be right back. All right, folks, what a weekend it was in the news. President Trump's very successful Operation Midnight Hammer dominated headlines, especially when the president took to Truth Social to confirm the mission's success himself. Of course, everyone had an opinion of Trump's precision strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Look at the scene in Tel Aviv. President Trump's face lined the city's main highway. Look at that right there. People were thanking Trump for this display of American force and strength, something his predecessor was deathly afraid to do. And the other predecessor with Obama, neither one, Biden and Obama, couldn't handle the face of taking out the nuclear facilities in Iran. At the end of the day, even MSNBC was impressed with the seamless execution. Listen.
But there are four things that jumped out at me. One, the level of secrecy of this mission. The fact that you had planes that flew from the continental United States. From Missouri and flew for, I think it's 18 hours with multiple refueling in the air. The second thing, what jumped out to me was just the execution of this massive plan involving the U.S. military, seemingly in multiple theaters. You know, this decoy you were talking about went to the Pacific to take away from what was happening the other way. The other thing that jumped out at me was that when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said no Iranian planes flew and no shots were fired at any of the U.S. military jets, all of that to me is just from what they're telling us is rather impressive. And
well, Jonathan Capehart got a call right after that getting fired by MSNBC. I'm kidding. The level of secrecy surrounding this mission is a refreshing thing if you're a true patriot, waking up in this country every single day. Trump avoided the back and forth with the media and didn't give the whiny Democrats a chance to turn this mission into something that was not. One of those whiny Dems, Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, pencil neck as Trump would call him, saved his tears for the aftermath. He's very upset that Trump didn't ask for his opinion before going through with this. Listen.
This was not constitutional, was not lawful in the absence of a declaration by Congress. And so the administration should have come to Congress. We will have a vote on a war powers resolution. But there's a reason to bring this to Congress, and it is you want the Congress bought in. You want the American people bought in on an action this substantial that could lead to a major outbreak of war.
Oh, come on, Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff. We are so tired of begging permission from Congress. Finally, a president steps up and does a presidential thing and says, you know what? I'm going to do the thing that's difficult to do, not the one that I can use Congress to hide behind. Get used to it. On CBS, Margaret Brennan tried to take on Marco Rubio on foreign policy. She lost badly. Watch.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked in the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is the key point in U.S. intelligence assessment. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not been made.
I know that better than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
And you know in the intelligence assessment that it was that Iran wanted to be a threshold state and use this leverage. I'm talking about the public March assessment, and that's why I was asking you if you know something more from March.
But that's also an inaccurate representation of it. That's an accurate representation of it. That's not how intelligence is read. That's not how intelligence is used. Here's what the whole world knows. Now, forget about intelligence. What the IAEA knows. They are enriching uranium well beyond anything you need for a civil nuclear program. So why would you enrich uranium at 60%? Right. If you don't intend to one day use it to take it to 90 and build a weapon? Right. Why are you developing ICBMs? Why do you have 8,000 short-range missiles and 2,000 to 3,000 long mid-range missiles that you continue to develop? Why do you do all these things? They have everything they need for a nuclear weapon. They have the delivery mechanisms. They have the enrichment capability. They have the highly enriched uranium that is stored. Yes. That's all we need to see.
Marco Rubio. Mic drop. Bernie Sanders and his socialist supporters found out about this operation at the same time during one of his weird rallies. Take a listen to how they reacted in real time.
We just bombed Iran. Oh, that just gave me the chills. I'm scared. All right, let me conclude. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God.
This is a statement from Donald Trump. Quote,
oh, dear God.
We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, etc.
I love all those liberals. Just go to Iran for a while. Just go hang out in Tehran for a while. All you women, maybe some gay people spread amongst the crowd. Just go live there for a while. You tell us if this is a place you want to have a nuclear weapon. All right. Chris Christie, of all people, gave Trump, I don't know, a little bit of love on ABC. He even said the Democrats were wrong. Believe it or not, he might get fired for this.
Are you surprised that the president ultimately did this?
I'm not, John. And I think that the president deserves an enormous amount of credit. This is against type for him. I'm sure it was a difficult decision. But what I think his analysis was he cannot live with a nuclear weaponed Iran.
And what next? I mean, he was vowing a bigger operation, a bigger attack if Iran retaliates.
Well, that's up to Iran. And I think if Iran decides that they want to do, and I think your analogy is exactly right, it's a suicide bombing. If they decide they want to do that, I have no doubt that Donald Trump will bring
a little
more.
bit of love. It's hard for Chris Christie to do, but you know what? Deep down, he's a rhino, but he's still a Republican anyway. Very quickly, in other news, people of Chicago really hate their mayor, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon Johnson. Listen to African Americans just rip into this guy. Watch.
You all sit up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaign and double down that you will not raise property taxes.
I won't raise your property taxes.
This was going to happen to you. You got Kash Patel and Pam Bundy that you're going to have to deal with sooner than later. Then it's going to be an audit. Next, it's going to be an investigation. Then it's going to be an indictment. Conviction. That's what's going to happen to you.
Mr. Brandon Johnson, I'm up here. I am speaking right now, so I would love your undivided attention, please. I'll wait. So this just proves to you the lack of leadership that you show in this city. You can't even give me straight eye contact. Now, I'm going to let you know now, the people of Chicago, we're done with you.
It's about time. It's really about time. I'm from Chicago. That city has been run by progressives since I was born. Horrible place, horrible politics there. But last two mayors, Lori Lightfoot and this guy, Brandon Johnson, African Americans finally realizing that these folks don't give a damn about African Americans. They only care about the progressive agenda. About time to get rid of Lori Lightfoot, get rid of this Brandon Johnson guy. How about trying conservative? Just try it once, see how it feels. It might actually work for you. All right. That's it. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes right after this. Mad Dog, jump on the voice of God, please.
Yes, sir.
What do you have? Live shots of the Middle East.
This is live shots of the Middle East. We got Iran, Tehran, Iran, Doha, Qatar. And then we have Jerusalem, then we have Karamil, Israel, and we have Tel Aviv.
Wow, look at that. What do you know? There's no bombs in the sky anywhere right now. It's
all live shots, yeah.
Kind of take a breather over the last, 72, 96 hours or so. There's been bombs flying everywhere. This is good. I really think Trump did a surgical strike. I didn't think it should have happened, but if things stay like this, man, what a success. Man, what a success. I do believe Israel should continue to, sorry, folks, these peaceniks, Israel should continue to pound Iran till the people of Israel of Iran say, you know what, enough is enough with these mullahs. Enough is enough of these clerics. They can go over there and be religious, but they're not going to run the country. They're not going to tell us who we should follow, who we should believe, let women take the freaking hijabs off, right? Get rid of those dark century lunatics that are running the country of Iran and some of the other Islamic countries. Sharia law is fine for you. You want to do it? Fine. Everyone doesn't have to do it. Choose, pick and choose. So, we've been talking about you leaving voicemails, and you've been leaving me a bunch of voicemails. I got something like 400 after Friday, and we talked about it. Here's just a few of them. Mad Dog, get on the horn with me. Get on the microphone with me.
Yes,
what
sir.
do we have first?
We have Trump knows. I think it's someone
Trump
from
knows. Trump knows best. Let's play it.
Hi, Eric. This is Laura from Michigan.
Laura.
Love the show.
Hi, Laura.
These are my thoughts about Iran. We need to remember that Trump knows a whole lot more of what is actually going on than we will ever know, and I trust him to do the right thing.
Yeah, she does. She's right. He does know a heck of a lot. They get those intelligence briefings. We just saw how Marco Rubio just completely dismantled Margaret Brennan at CBS. Pretty cool, right, Mad Dog?
Yes, sir.
All right, you got another good one for me?
Yes, sir.
What do we have?
Yeah, this is TC, and I love your show. And I like to give President Trump some advice.
Ooh.
Bomb, 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 Iran. Bomb, bomb, bomb.
Mad Dog.
Yeah.
How's that singing?
Oh, it's great. Top notch.
Anyone back there know what the real song, not Bomb Iran, is something Ann. What is that real? It's like a 60s song.
Barbara Ann?
Barbara Ann. Okay. Good job. What was his name? TC? What's the next one? What's it labeled?
It's labeled Bondi.
Ooh, yeah, I remember this one. Listen.
Hey, Eric. Greetings from Sierra Vista, Arizona. This is Lovey Graves, and I like to know when Pam Bondi is going to do her job. She's had a half year, and when will she finally get Alex Soros, who visited Biden's office all the time, and when is she going to do her job and get Soros and Obama? Take care. Love your show. Glad to have you on Real American Voice. Take care. We're baking out here.
All right. So from Arizona, Mad Dog. So Alex Soros is the son of George Soros, the multi-billionaire, is worth like $20 billion. Alex is running the Soros Foundation. And these are the folks who are donating to a lot of different campaigns around the country who are basically anti-crime. I mean, they're buying off a lot of attorney generals and various forms of judges, not buying them off. They're supporting them so they get in office and go soft on crime. She's right. Pam, I would love to see it. Among other things, we see some of that. What else we got there, Mad Dog?
Todd from Utah.
Todd from Utah.
Eric, this is Todd from Utah. The first part is I stopped watching Fox News 100% when Dana Perino just embarrassed herself and the network by dissing you because of Trump and saying you wanted something from Trump. That's why you're positive. And you were good on Newsmax, but you really knocked it out of the park on Rav. Okay, the main thing is I get tired of these protesters and rioters pushing and shoving and throwing things at the cops, and they can't do anything about it. Give them net guns. The first time somebody throws something,
net guns.
You shoot them with a net gun, it wraps them up. They can't get away.
I like it. I think they do it in Africa for the wild animals. Another one, Mad Dog.
All right, Bolling, you're cool, man, but I'm cooler. And Trump is the coolest. Look, man, if he wants to take out Iran, for years and years, they've caused us problems. Let it rain, Trump. Let it rain.
Let it rain, Trump. We have another one?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
Hey, Eric, it's Sherry calling from Michigan. Just wanted to let you know we love you here in our household. Well, we're glad to see that you came from Newsmax to Real America's Voice. And you're great. I listened to your podcast. You're full of information. And I'm glad you didn't end up in Trump's administration. He can't take all the guys. You got to leave like you, Steve Bannon, and Charlie Kirk, and got to leave some behind to keep us informed. You're great. Keep it up. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, thank you. Those are really, really sweet comments. That's what I put in there because I think you really got a great group here. Charlie Kirk in the morning, Posobiec, myself, I just love being here. Love leaning into Bannon's second show of the day. Rav's done it. They're doing it. They're putting it together. They got a great lineup, and it's really cool to be here. Appreciate all the nice comments. 888-601-0032, 888-601-0032. Call, leave a message. I try and listen to all of them, but you guys are bombarding, which is really cool. And we'll play some. Again, when you leave, you may hear yourself on air in the next couple of days. Steve Bannon coming up next. War Room.